Well, in business tonight, Microsoft CEO rounding up his tour of Southeast Asia with a final stop in Malaysia, with another round of investment to develop artificial intelligence infrastructure. On the visit by Satya Nadella coming as tech giants work to diversify business beyond China, amid rising geopolitical tensions with the United States. CNA's Melissa Go with this report.
It's the largest investment pledged by Microsoft in Malaysia in its 32-year history. All in, $2.2 billion investments over 4 years. Speaking at the Microsoft-built AI Day event in Kuala Lumpur, its chairman and CEO Satya Nadella said the investments will further spearhead digital transformation in Malaysia and across the region.
We really want to make sure that we have world-class infrastructure right here in the country so that every organization, every software developer, every startup can use it to really not only build for this country, but for the world and the region.
The investments, he said, would include building a new cloud and AI infrastructure and creating AI skilling opportunities for 200,000 Malaysians, in particular students and women and those from the underserved communities. Also, Microsoft will strengthen its partnership with the government to establish a national AI Center of Excellence and enhance the nation's cybersecurity capabilities. Earlier, Mr. Nadella met Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim at his office in Putrajaya and spoke at the National AI Leadership Forum. The investment demonstrates Microsoft's commitment, he said, to develop Malaysia as a hub for cloud computing and advanced technologies such as generative AI. Now, industry experts welcome Microsoft's announcement today, in particular on improving the talent pool.
The biggest question is that how are we going to apply these AI things into the actual world, and how do we apply it to different scenarios, different use cases? I think a lot of industry, I would say a lot of Gen AI are still facing these challenges. Where is the biggest deployment scenario, or what is the best use case to apply this?
Malaysia is the final stop for Mr. Nadella's Southeast Asian tour. Now, earlier this week, he announced a $1.7 billion investment to build cloud and AI infrastructure in Indonesia, and an unspecified amount to set up a regional data center in Thailand. Melissa Go, CNA, Kuala Lumpur.
For more on Southeast Asia's digital economy, I am joined by Manjunath Bhatt. Now, he is Research Vice President, Gartner Research and Advisory based in Singapore. Well, Mr. Bhatt, we just heard there, $2 billion in Malaysia, and just before that, $1.7 billion in Indonesia, and an unspecified sum for data centers in Thailand. Of course, Microsoft going very big on Southeast Asia, but spending on cloud services in the region has been robust for years. So 2021 to 2022, 25% jump in investment in cloud services. Why? What's driving investment in Southeast Asia?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. One thing to note is that even though Microsoft made its announcement today, Microsoft is not the only cloud provider making this announcement in this region. So we also know that Google, AWS are the other two major cloud providers who have announced investments in terms of building a new data centers, creating new skills, right? Digitalization of the respective economies, especially in Malaysia. Now, if you look at Indonesia, for instance, AWS and Google already have localized country-specific data centers there. So it's not surprising to us that Microsoft does not want to leave off this opportunity. They want a slice of the pie. Now, if you look at what's driving this demand, it's primarily data residency, right? Most laws in these regions, they're sort of maturing. They're compliance laws that dictate data sovereignty, data residency, the need for data to remain in the region, in the country. And this becomes especially important once you start looking at AI-specific workloads and increasingly generative AI workloads. So if you think of, let's say, for instance, AI-optimized infrastructure, there's going to be increased demand for such generative AI digital services. And so Microsoft, having its presence through Office 365, GitHub and other
Mr. Bhatt,
adjacent services.
pardon me, Mr. Bhatt, for cutting in. I do need to ask you on this one. So data residency is the physical or geographical location of an organization's data, so that laws can apply from where you get data, where you store data, and where you process data. We can apply the same laws. But AI being what it is, linked to cloud, the whole point of cloud is remote servers, so they are not physical locations anymore. What is the advantage if you say it is Southeast Asia having residency, data residency? It loses that once you link AI to cloud services.
It's an interesting question. So one thing to keep in mind is that these clouds were not optimized for AI to begin with. So a lot of public clouds now are starting to ramp up what we call graphics processing units. You may have heard of the term GPUs. So traditionally, clouds were designed to support traditional workloads, which are virtualized workloads, containerized workloads. Increasingly, if you have to start supporting generative AI workloads, you would need to train these machine learning models, right? Machine learning models, both training as well as inferencing, requires AI optimized infrastructure called GPUs. And that's the reason now you're starting to see these public cloud providers increasingly ramp up their GPUs within their cloud. But to your point, AI requires data to remain within their infrastructure. Because think about it, for AI, the primary fuel is data. So in fact, Gartner says AI may be ready, but is your data ready for AI? And so once you start talking about data that fuels AI, you do want that data to be resident within your country-specific sovereign regions.
But that's precisely it. AI is effective the way it is because it has access to enormous amounts of data, and that's where cloud comes in. But cloud is stored in data centers connected in all sorts of ways that could be extraterritorial. So how can the benefits of national jurisdiction sovereignty apply to the data that AI needs that's being stored in the cloud outside? It could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah, so especially when you start looking at these data center investments that Microsoft and others are announcing, the whole idea is when you create a data center, what we also call in cloud parlance an availability zone within a country, then the cloud provider provides the guarantee that if you're a client in a specific country, then your data will be guaranteed to reside within that data center. So that is the precise purpose for creating these data centers in these specific countries. So I agree with you that you could have cloud. The whole idea of cloud is to have workloads running literally in any part of the world. But because of data sovereignty reasons, data residency reasons, these hyperscalers are creating data centers within specific countries so that they could host
such
the
as
data
Microsoft,
of their clients in that region.
All right, so very quickly, and I return essentially to how we began, but again, summarizing this for me, what does Southeast Asia offer in terms of all these things we need in terms of jurisdiction, in terms of legislation, in terms of physical infrastructure, network infrastructure? What does it have that other regions don't have? Final question.
Yeah, very quickly. So I think a booming startup ecosystem is what is starting to differentiate Southeast Asia. You are also seeing a growing number of unicorns, huge number of developers, growing amount of digital services. In many cases, Southeast Asia and the people here are very well connected. They want to experiment very quickly with AI-based applications. And this kind of experimentation requires the kind of agility that cloud provides. And that's what Southeast Asia presents as an opportunity for all the cloud providers.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us this evening, Mr. Manjunath Bhatt of Gartner Research and Advisory.